Hey everybody, Coach Clay Banks here, coming to you live from our studio at Clay Banks Studio International. Welcome to another episode of the Performance Zone, where we bring you in-depth, detailed insights into the minds of different industry professionals to help you navigate the waters of the entertainment industry for yourself. We bring you different guests each episode covering different topics. And today I'm really excited and proud to have my good buddy with me, Halstan Williams from Halstan Williams Photography. And we're going to let you meet Halstan. So without any further ado, Halstan, welcome to the show.
How you doing there, Clay?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I just wondered, when did he start wearing glasses?
Well, we kind of share the same nearsightedness. So it's, we share the same glasses.
That's good.
We don't have an optical plan.
Okay. I hear you.
So Halstan, we want people who don't know you to know a little bit more about you. I explain you as a top-notch photographer who can shoot a headshot like nobody's business, and you really do amazing work with women. So you want to expand on that?
Well, I do good with guys too. I get some good shots. I know how to shoot.
You do.
Yeah. So the question would be, what makes a good shot? Is that what you're?
Tell us a little bit about photography and you as a photographer, just to kind of people to get to know you.
All right. Well, I guess the background is I started off as a bricklayer. Then I hurt my back and had to do something else. I got into the modeling and commercial world, and that took me to Europe. When I was over there, I picked up a camera and started shooting the models I was working with on jobs. And it was shortly after that, when I got back to London after big jobs, I'm seeing sometimes just one shot that a model would let me shoot, and it would end up on her Z card. So it was telling me, well, maybe I ought to explore this a little bit more. So I ended up starting to shoot more and more, and I ended up being a little bit of a talent scout, because when I left one agency, she said, well, if you leave, you got to find me two like you or better. And I started shooting some people, and I shot a set of twins, and they got signed, and then I moved on to another agency. I moved on to the Nebs agency, which was handling Gregory Peck and the James Bond guy, what's his name? Roger Moore. Roger Moore. Yeah, back in the day. And so anyway, that went on, and so I started having a dual career. And then when I got back to the States, I was known as a beauty photographer, and I just knew how to like women, and in a way that it was always flattering. And so that's how that came about. And then I learned how to shoot guys, which is cross light and rim light and all that stuff. But I think really with me, and I think this is what aspiring models and actors should know, is there's a lot of shooters out there that shoot technically, and that's okay. But I've always shot emotionally. So that means that when you're in front of the camera, don't look at the camera, look through the camera. And if you're going to smile, find something inside yourself that makes you really smile.
Now, the majority of our audience are actors. And what I like to do is kind of bring out information that I feel is really going to benefit the actor. So let's talk about what works really well and what doesn't work really well with your talent when you're actually shooting them. So what makes for somebody that really you can get a really killer shot from? What are they doing?
Well, they're usually a little more seasoned, and they've probably already done some scenes in a workshop situation where they've developed characters, and they bring that character with wardrobe and everything to my set, and I just let them roll. And one of the techniques I use is that do the monologue without moving your mouth.
Live the internal story.
Yes.
Yeah. There you go. Live the internal story. Have something going on. Don't just stand there and pose.
It's a little bit difficult when people show up and they don't know what they want and they don't know where they fit in to the industry. That's why I always express to people, you know, get some training somewhere, get a sense of what you can do. Find out what you can move into comfortably. I mean, you're not going to see Dustin Hoffman play Dirty Harry, and you're not going to see Eastwood play
Ratso Rizzo from Midnight Cowboy, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Just slipping in a plug here, you know that I do headshot coaching, and the reason for that is years ago when we shot reels, you know, you shoot 36 pictures and we would have to buy a shoot and you'd pay for a roll. And if you wanted another roll, you wanted another roll. And it would take sometimes 6 weeks for that whole process to be done, from all the developing and the trannies and then getting the prints and then finally having the retouch it at a retouching place till you had your black and white 8x10. It would take a while.
It was a process.
And the actors would come in and they'd say, "Coach, I want to show you my shots." And I'd be like, "Why? You already shot. There's nothing I can do besides just tell you they're probably not going to be good." And they would show me the shots, and a lot of times they just weren't good. And it was so painful because that process was so expensive. So that's when I started working with actors going, "Listen, I'm going to put a coaching package out there that allows actors to know what to do, to understand more about what you're talking about with the internal story, so that when they got in front of guys like you, as you know, when you get actors from me that have been trained, you've said it many times that it's so much easier for you to do your job."
Yes, because I think most of them, they already know that they're not supposed to wait for a camera snap. You know, you treat it like it's a moving camera, and you just stay natural and let the shooter find you. Don't try to find the shooter. You get in trouble when you do that, you know.
Wow, that's really a great thing right there. So instead of sitting there waiting to have your picture taken, be in a moment, be in an internal dialogue, be in a scene, and you capture it.
And that's pretty easy then. Yeah, it's fun. That's why I have a blast with kids that are only 5, 6, and 7 years old, because they're just totally themselves. And you just hold the camera and let them go, and then you look at shots, and there's so many to pick from, and that's what's fun.
So the actor,
and I think that's what it is. I think you really have to have an amateur attitude. When I mean amateur attitude, I mean the Greek word amateur, meaning to love, to really love what you're doing. And that's what's great. And sometimes when you get too professional and you got to get it and you get yourself in a box and you think you've got to do it this way, and you got, "Oh, I don't like this side of my face," and "Oh, you know," and I just, you know, you're lost. That's like an actor doing a scene and he's listening to himself going, "Oh no, that's wrong. Oh, that's right." It's the same thing.
So the actor really needs to be as a child and to play.
Yeah.
Just play and free up and be able to play and free up in front of the camera.
Correct the moon, though.
Is that about it?
Yeah, that's one of the things.
Okay. How about, so let's just talk the opposite. What is it that really, like, think of some of your more difficult people, no names, but some of your more difficult people.
Well, actually, I'm going to drop a name.
Oh, no, are you?
All right, I won't.
Why would you drop a name?
Well, because he's such he's such an icon. I mean,
well, it's up to you.
I mean, I don't know.
Don't get us in trouble.
I don't. You know, it's well, okay. It's like when I was working with Christopher Lloyd, who does Back in the Future, and he does all these things. He's petrified with a still camera. If he's not working 3 or 4 days on his character, and you can't find him for 3 or 4 days, when he's getting ready to do a role, he shuts off everything, his phone, everything. You're not going to get a hold of him. But when you do get a shot with him, the only way I could get him to totally relax is I had his girlfriend tickle him while I was shooting. And so that does happen. And some people that are really way up there do have problems with the camera. So it's one of the things.
So that problem would be what? Just freezing up and not allowing their personalities to come out?
Well, I'm not inside their head. The only thing I can figure out is that they're very critical of themselves, and that if they don't have that thing going on and they're comfortable enough, it's, first of all, Chris comes from theater, and then he went into television, and he does what he does. I mean, he doesn't spend time in front of a still camera. So what I'm getting at is that those of you who are out there having problems with getting in front of the camera, don't get too down on yourself, because it's a process. My first pictures when I shot was like, whoa, that was really bad. Really bad. And it's a process, you know, you have to keep working. And here's the thing, you can find a friend that has a camera, you know, but use that friend just to get the practice. Don't really expect to get that dynamite shot that an agent looks at or a casting agent looks at and goes, whoa, let's bring him in. Because usually people that have cameras, they got a tree growing out of the back of your head or something like that. But the main thing is use it as a training. This is what I tell models when I was working with them. Get in front of the mirror and pose. Tear out tear sheets in magazines and see if you can emulate that image and stuff like that. So in a way, you can do that with headshots too. And one of the things are, if you do have an agent, you know, have your agent give you at least 10 pictures of what they think is a dynamite shot, and then you emulate that.
Yeah, you know, back in the day, this was prior to you, my photographer was a guy named Sandy Spear. It's been a long time ago, back in the day. I think it was before I met you. And I shot with him several times, rolls, you bought rolls, and we're shooting black and white. And I was like, no, I want one shot. I know what I'm looking for. And I went out doing exactly what you're saying. I went out looking for the guys that I was closely associated with at the time. And I pulled their sheets, just like you're saying. And I sat down and I did my homework. And I went, this is the shot that I want. And I got very clear on it. And I brought in a little board with the pictures on. And I sat down with Sandy. And I said, Sandy, I want this shot for me. So I want this part of this part of this is what I want. One roll, one look, one wardrobe, one location. And all I did was just little subtleties until we got it. And that shot, Halstan, my agents used for just about 10 years for everything.
And you ended up doing about 200 to 300 commercials and stuff like that. I remember.
It did well for me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So one of the reasons why I recommend a lot of people to you is because what really is exciting, and I mean, we've spent a lot of time together, but one thing that's just really exciting, what I tell actors is, when you get with him, he's got a wardrobe closet, he's got toys, he's got tools, he's got locations, and you just got to play. You got to let Halstan do his thing, because you just have a way of looking at somebody, knowing how they need to be outfitted and knowing where you need to put them. And then you go and you get them. And to me, that's priceless.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things that I think, because of the background of all the years of doing modeling and then doing shootings for magazines and stuff like that, you kind of know your 4 seasons, and you know what kind of wardrobe goes with those 4 seasons. That's one thing.
You mean the season of the personality and the complexion of the person, right?
Yes,
yeah.
The color of the hair, the eyes, and everything. It puts them in a category.
Winter, summer, spring.
Yes, right. That does help. Like right now, I'm a summer, and so you can see with the blue eyes and the white hair and the blue shirt, that's a summer. That's what you got there. I wasn't a summer all the time. When I was a lot younger, I was more of a kind of a fall, something like that. So that's how that worked. That's one of the issues. The other thing is that when I'm talking to them, and I recommend that if you're uncomfortable, first of all, really, you got to be connected to the shooter. It's like if you call up somebody and you're going to get a headshot for 50 cents, and you go over there and he just bangs off something. There's nothing there. There's got to be a connection, because you should be looking through the lens. If you're looking through the lens, you're going to see me, and you'll usually see me with a smile on my face, Or I might make a mention, like, think about, something you really did for someone that made you feel good, how does that feel? So I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about that.
Yeah, I did a headshot coaching session with a student just at the end of last year. I mean, and we worked it out, and she was into it. And she came back after she didn't shoot with you. She shot with this other guy, had his big name in Hollywood. She paid all this money. And she comes back and she shows me the shots, and they were all the same, and they were dead. And I said, what happened? She goes, oh my gosh, it was terrible. He was so uncomfortable. I just didn't feel safe around him. I felt like he was even a little sleazy, and I just couldn't go there.
She must have been a purty gal. That's all I can tell you.
Well, she just didn't feel safe around the photographer, and so she couldn't let her personality out.
Well, that kind of goes both ways, doesn't it? I mean, who was the one who sprung the pollen first? Was it him or was it her? So that tells me that maybe there's a part of her that was uncomfortable, which made him more uncomfortable. And then what do you got? You're dealing with a shoot that, if that happens to me, what I do is I put him in a rough outfit, get their makeup looking rough, and I get them to be the bad girl or the bad guy, and help get them worked up to a point where they can really be themselves. There's all different techniques to try to, I got a set of keys that opens up the door to help that person be themselves. And you just got to figure it out. And that's through years of doing acting workshops, working with coaches, like back when I was studying with you and we were doing improv at the Comedy Store and stuff like that. I'll listen to what you say and I go, oh, that's a good key. I'll remember that. I'll remember how to use that to open up the door to get that person to be totally themselves, So I really love this crew you have here, Clay. 3 beautiful women. This is wonderful.
You're supposed to be telling everybody what's going on.
Okay.
It's the mystery behind the camera.
All right.
Oh, no, that's okay.
Sorry.
Tell me about, just before we move on from this, tell me about if you can think of a photo shoot that went bad and you had to save it. I mean, the actor just like lost it or something, or was going to run off set. I mean, something that just did not go well at all.
I think probably through my 40 years of shooting, I've had maybe 2 experiences that was like that. Usually I turn the negative into a positive.
Yeah, you do. You're really great at that.
Yeah. And so I had one gal that she just kept blinking excessively. And then I tried to shoot her in areas where the wind, and that got worse. And then that was back in the days when I was shooting film, and I was only allotted, 3 roles for that particular campaign that I was doing. It was in Chicago, actually. And it was a disaster. There was nothing I could pull out of that. But then through years of experience, you learn how, okay, this girl can't open her eyes. She's just too much of a summer. She's squinting. So I'd find a place where I can put her in a shadow somewhere. And so the key thing to, when you see pictures, it's in the eyes. And if you can get that person's eyes in a situation where their eyes will dilate bigger, it's always a winning shot, because it's just there. It's not, they're not squinting, they're not doing anything, unless you're doing Clint Eastwood. That's a different story.
Is there a technique you can share that actors, anyone in front of the camera, could do to see that their eyes are open and that their eyes are bright, and especially in really sunny conditions?
There you go. There is a technique, and I learned it when I was modeling back in London, and then I got booked to do a job in Greece, in Athens. And after being in London shooting under, basically gray light all the time.
Big scrum.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then you do a little board here to kick up on you and everything like that. When I got down there and I hit that sun, I'm like this, and it's like I just couldn't do it. And the photographer came up. She said, "Hey, I'm going to show you a trick. Not too many people know, but you need to know this."
And we're going to hear it now in the performance.
And it's going right now. What you do, he said, when you get ready to shoot. Now I'm shooting you with hot light here, and I understand what you're going through. So what I want you to do is to close your eyes, lift your lids, and look right into the sun, and look there for maybe 20 seconds, whatever. The key thing is if it turns red in your lids or white, you're good to go. Then you open them and your eyes just go big, and you do that and do that and do that.
So then you just go back and do it again for another
Yes,
set of shots.
yeah, until you start squinting again. But then on the way down, you get some good shots because there's different attitudes, you know. And if you're a smart guy, and you get the whole thing and you're like this, and then you come down, you got that big smile, and then as it starts to get hard, maybe you get a little harder, maybe you get a little stronger, that kind of thing.
That's great.
Yeah.
There's a nugget right there, Lori.
Yep.
Come on.
Yeah.
Now.
Hey, I've been around. I've been to Tucson, Arizona.
You guys heard that here too. All right.
All right, go ahead.
So moving things a little bit forward. You over time, I mean, you shoot beautiful stuff, and you moved into filmmaking. You're on your second film now, and when I saw your first film, Easy Money. And I watched you working, and now Easy Money, I'm more involved in the Red Door with your second film, but the Easy Money, I was busy. You were doing it. I don't know. You weren't showing me any of the rushes or anything, or any of the clips of rushes. How far back do we go?
Yeah. So far back when God said, Clay and Halstan, stand up. Let's put your eyes in.
Yeah. Rushes, for you guys that might not know the expression, those were the dailies, and dailies were things that you would see. Now you just hit the camera and play it back. It's no big deal. But I remember when you screened Easy Money, and I was just going, oh my gosh, every scene was as pretty as your photography. And I went, dude, you're like a real DP with the moving camera as well, and just capture that so great.
Yeah, where I got that from, there was a guy named Michael that I knew from Phoenix that was a still photographer that was working with the Coen brothers. He did one of their films. And I told Michael one day, because I was shooting a little bit as I was modeling, what's the difference? What are you doing? And he said, Halstan, you just take your best still techniques and apply it to film. I went, wow, I'm getting goosebumps.
I can do that.
I can do that.
And you did. And the film is really beautiful.
The Easy Money?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, I've also been watching.
Yeah, you watched it. That was really beautiful.
Your scenes are pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, they just are. You take the time to make the scenes look good.
Yep. And get that performance.
Yeah. Now, how about it? What are you doing with all that lighting? How are you doing it? How are you making scenes where you just go, it's beautiful? Like, right, Scorsese's Irishman. I feel it's his masterpiece. I look at this thing, 3 hours and 20 whatever minutes long, and I go, this thing is beautiful. Yeah, but that's Scorsese. He's got all the money. He's got all the talent. He's got all that.
Well, I can't speak for him because he's got a big budget.
Yeah,
and
how do you do it?
And I don't. I basically have lights like what you have in the studio, and then I have one key dish that I use. And to be honest with you, a lot of times I'm using natural lighting, and on hopes that the color temperature doesn't change too much during the scene. I choose scenes that I know can get done where the color temperature is in that area, so I don't have to do a lot of work in DaVinci Resolve and try to adjust the colors, because it's real tricky. And so it's again talking to cinematographers, and I go, so when you did that shot, Think Like a Man, what did you do? He said, Halstan, I used a little LED. I had that light this close to that person when I did a close-up. And I said, really? Just an LED? Yeah, nowadays you don't need all those hot lights like they did back in the day. A good example is watching the Coen brothers film that he did, True Grit, and then you watch the one with John Wayne, and you see such a difference with the big studio lightings back then and the rim lighting that didn't make sense. And then you see what the Coen brothers are doing now, where they really do. It's called painting in. You use the available light, and if you know it's going to be a light change, then you fill in that available light to sustain that, so when the light does change, it's still there, and then you do the shot.
For people who don't know, you've brought up rim lighting a few times. You want to explain that?
Rim lighting is something that it looks great on guys. You bring up, it's over the shoulder and you can see a lighting here. I don't know if you can get it here. Yeah, you can see in there, this side right here. It's a little bit brighter. You can see right down here the rim light. It's kind of separates the
So you
background.
can see right there in front of you. Too.
Oh, right there. Oh, really?
It's on a delay.
Oh, it's well.
That's your TV delay.
Is that my?
Why am I not moving? See, there you go. Now you're moving.
My higher.
See it?
My alter ego's over there. He's on his shoulder right now.
He's watching.
Anyway, so, but I mean, I don't think it's that important that you as a talent needs to be aware of that. But well, I guess you should, because if you're working with a shooter and you know that on this side of the face you got a scar, you don't want a cross light that's going to just enhance it. Unless you're going for the bad guy, then of course show it. But with women, keep it nice and flat, and maybe a 1:3 ratio, which is a little bit of a difference. You don't need the big shadows on the side of your nose.
A 1:3 ratio?
Yeah, 1 to 3, 1, 2, 3, and you get 2 lights. You know, you got the front.
So you're talking about positioning
Yeah.
lights.
Yeah, something like that.
Right.
So that's what it is.
Well, we have filmmakers that watch, and you make it sound so easy. Oh, just use this, use it. So many films you see, and the lighting is just awful, and it's just awful. And they're trying to do their best, and you're like, oh well, it's just what is it? You're able to make shots look beautiful.
You know what? I think what it was with me is that, again, I always shot emotionally and I always shot for beauty. I always wanted to bring out the real self of the person I was working with. And I just would look at a shot, and if I saw shadows that accented dark circles under her eyes or made her nose look longer and stuff, I would figure out how to not do that. And so over a period of time, there for a while, I was just shooting beauty so much that sometimes I kind of blew it, and I was shooting guys the same way. And they're looking beautiful. Like, wait a minute, I got to change it. He looks too pretty. We got to get him to look a little bit rougher and stuff like that. It's innate. It's a gift I have.
It's a gift from God.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially when you are one with Source, it gets even better, because you just, whatever your spontaneous moment is, and when you have a spontaneous moment, it's spot on, and that's really what helps.
And that's your talent. I mean, your talent is being able to be very specific to detail, operating in the now, being aware of what's going on, and being impassioned by what you're doing and being able to capture it.
Yep. And that's how I do with acting reels now too. It's I just had this call last week, and he's worked with me before, and he had another friend that he wanted to do this scene called Rabbit Hole. If you know what that was, Nicole Kidman, and it's a heavy scene. And I gave him my price, and he goes, "Oh, okay, well, let me check with her." And he comes back with me, and he says, "Well, she can't really afford that, but she says she's got a friend that has a camera." I go, okay, well, whatever works out best for you. I know you, I know your work. You do what you can do, but whatever you do, make sure they got good sound. Because if he misses it on the filming, you get good sound.
That opens up a whole nother thing. You
Yes.
start getting into audio.
Right.
Audio
And
is
so, yeah, that is another thing. However, he did end up coming back to me because it didn't work out. So,
well. Let's just jump into that for just a little bit, because you are a DP. You shoot a tremendous amount. You ever guess at how many actual pictures you've taken? I mean, is that crazy?
I started doing a count when I was on the road, and I was averaging anywhere from 400 to 500 people per year. And I did that from 1983 through 90. 94, something like that. So, I don't know
So
what
over 10 years, so let's say 500,
yes.
500 a year, 500 a year. So you're looking at 5,000, 5,000?
Is that what it works out
Seems
to?
like there would be a lot more than that.
Uh,
Yeah. 10 years.
Well, now
500 a
remember,
year
when
would
I
be
went on the
5,000.
road, I only went on the road for 3 months.
Right.
Usually I had to get back and get my body
I
back
think
in
you've
shape.
shot a lot more people than that.
Well, maybe so.
And even the ones you don't count. I mean, you shoot people all the time.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, you just take the camera out and you
Well,
go.
let's look at it this way. Let's say how many shots I've fired. So if you average about 200 to 300 shots per person,
There
and
you
you've got that, then you can
Times
figure
500, right,
just-
right.
how many?
550, yeah,
That's a lot, and that's a lot of going through images and stuff like that. Where was I going with this? I thought there was something that's important. When I first started in this business, I knew what I wanted. I knew I had the potential. And when I hired a photographer, I paid $1,500. Now, this is in 1973. $1,500.
It's like 3 grand.
I mean, I had shots of me on horseback. I had shots of me falling off the horse. I've had shots of me doing high fashion. I had this. I didn't know what I was going or where I was going. I did something up in Sedona where I was wearing Western clothes, and I didn't know. And then finally I got an agent, and before they went through my second book, they signed me. They just signed me. They saw how much work I put into it. And so my feelings are this: when you cut somebody short on what they are charging, take a look at that. Do you really feel you're not worth it?
What do you mean when you cut someone short?
Like if somebody says, well, I can't afford that price, that's just too steep for me.
Right.
Okay. And on an average, shooters are around $700 for a session. That's the average. And then, of course, if you're with a school or something, you get some breaks and stuff like that. But some of them can't even afford that. Now, the thing is that could I afford $1,500 way back there? I mean, I was laying brick, and I mean, the most I made in the week was like $300. So that's hard work, hard labor. But I knew what I wanted, and I knew where I was going.
There you go.
That's it. And I think that's where talent has to realize how much they really want it. How do I say this? Do they really have the burn, and do they really feel they have the potential of getting there? And of course, if you're connected to source, it's all there for you. You just have to just go for it and know, that's it. So that being said, if you got to work an extra week somewhere or borrow the money or whatever you need to do, treat it like it's your business, and this is what you got to do. Look how many people spend, I don't know, 50, 75,000 per year to go to college, and then they come out. And I asked one guy, he was studying law in school, and when he came out, I said, "So what are you going to do when you graduate?" Well, I don't know. I think I'm going to go back on the farm, work with my dad. He spent $75,000 going to school, and then you change
Yeah,
it.
it happens.
Yeah.
A big student debt we have right now going on because of that exact reason.
Yeah, I'll have to fix that.
Yeah. So you, I believe at last look, you're for the prices you average, I think you're at $750 a session. Now you have all kinds of different packages. You do a weekend
Well, I got
package.
good ones with you.
Well, no, with us, you take care of you.
Yeah.
CBSI students, you can get a really good deal with this man right here. But I think you're around $750 for just a straight up shoot. And then you do some kind of all day deal. And then you do a weekend deal. Will you tell us about the weekend deal? That's always fascinating.
That's usually with people that are coming from either New York or another state, and they want to try to make it happen down here. And what I do is I usually just pick them up at the airport, and I kind of Airbnb my place to them. And we just spend the whole weekend shooting. They get to lay on that wonderful bed of mine, and I sleep on the couch. And they open up the curtains, and they see the ocean, and it just gets them in a space. So, and then you're not rushed. You don't feel like, okay, I only got to roll a film, or we only got an hour. We just,
it's very cool.
Just go, and it's worth it. It's fun.
And Halstan's got a beautiful place right looking over the Pacific Ocean in Santa Monica. I mean, so when you're talking about coming in for a weekend, and you are, because I know what you do, you know, you get that person really comfortable, and then they could be in the kitchen and you'll be over there shooting them while they're in the kitchen.
Yeah.
You're just shooting them wherever they are until they realize this is just the way it goes. They drop all of their guard, and then boom, you're catching amazing stuff.
I've caught so many shots of them looking at the computer at their stuff that I shot them, and they just go,
oh, there's more. There's more.
Wait,
Doesn't
hold
stop.
hold that. More to go. More to go.
I know Celine's getting all enticed by this.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to do that.
Yeah, so it's fun.
Yeah,
No, I love it. I mean, it was arduous for a while when I was working with big agencies in Chicago and Washington, D.C. I had one client in D.C. call me and said, you know, we're having problems with photographers. We're going through a suit thing. And to be honest with you, Halstan, we don't trust anyone but you. Would you be willing to come in and shoot? And I said, well, yeah, of course. Yeah. What, you know, and I said, how many people you have? Well, we have 250 people. Can you do that in a month? And I did it in a month.
Ching, ching.
Brought back enough money to help to pay the place for a few years and stuff like that. But that's hard on you because I got to be there every day, you know, and regardless if the cherry trees are blooming and you're sneezing all the time or whatever, which has happened to me in that little area in Georgetown at the Georgetown Suites. So I would average about it was 6 to 7 people a day, 3 changes of clothes. I gave them headshots, 3/4 and full lengths. Some of them were doing fashion. Some of them were just doing commercial. So I had to really think on my toes. Okay, I got to make this look like a fashion thing. So it's the lines, get the lines right and all that. And then there's some that think they are in fashion. And I'm going, oh my God, how am I going to make this work? You know, and I had the client come and says, I don't know what you're going to do with this girl. Well, I figured out what to do with her, you know, because she was just so commercial. And so I just put up a shot where she's actually painting on an easel and doing the shot and doing crazy stuff. And I got the shot. And it's great. So I had this one gal, bless her heart, she had to be coming in around probably close to 250 pounds, big girl. And they didn't know how to handle her. So I had them go down. I always remembered Lucille Ball with the big bread that comes out of the oven, you know, and she keeps going. Well, I got this great big loaf of bread, and I had her walking down the street with this bread over her shoulder and everything like that. And it turned out being a winning shot. She took it to a convention and she won commercial print. That's funny.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Hey, just to go back and we have to land this bird. Time flies here. Your weekend package is not $750. Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure for anybody that's watching this, your weekend package is a whole nother deal.
Yeah, it's another deal.
Yeah, it's another deal. And you can so people can find out about you. How?
Well, I guess you can just do halstan.com or you can just text me at my number.
Okay, so halstan.com is the website. It's HALSTAN.com.
Yeah.
And you'll see Halstan Williams photography. I just looked you up today actually and getting ready for this interview. And yes, it comes up Halstan Williams photography, and then all your stuff is right there, and your reels and your prices and your headshots and everything.
Yep. Pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Right. And if you come through the studio and you're watching this as a CBSI actor, you don't pay those rates. You get a special discounted rate, which Halstan has been honoring for years, which has been really great. So,
because, first of all, they're trained, you know, and when they come, they know what they're doing, and it's just a matter of just shooting, and then I get creative on top of that, and it's great. You know, I think, you know, Tom Hanks says it the best when he got the Golden Globe, or no, he got the Achievement Award.
Yeah, that was at the Golden Globes.
Yeah, it's the Golden Globes. You know, he said that when he was doing theater in the early years, that, you know, he went out with his friends and they had a little bit too much to drink and everything. And the director, you know, had a fit because he could see that they weren't prepared or anything like that. And he said 3 things: know your lines,
Mhm.
be on time, and bring something, even if it's wrong, bring something. And that's what I suggest you do on anything, on a scene or on a photo shoot. Have at least one or two ideas of your own, and then we'll play on that.
Especially to your wedding. You don't want to blow your vows. So in
By the way, when are you going to get married,
yeah,
Clay?
okay, that's another show.
Okay, all right.
So, Halstan, something that I like to ask all my guests, and this has been great. The time just like flew by. This was fantastic. I like to ask this question, and it gets a little bit profound. I know you're okay with all of that, but you know, we're in a big social media world, and images and illustrations and messages. It's huge. It's huge. You don't do a lot of posting, but you do some posting. If you were able to put out a post, an Instagram post, and everyone in the world on the planet with an IG account would see it right away, what would be the picture and what would you say?
Whoa, well, that's a difficult thing because I've got so many things going on as a filmmaker.
One post,
One post.
one picture. What would you say?
What would I say?
Start with what you'd say, and then what picture would you accompany it with?
Does it be not a picture of me? You're talking about
You
any
can
picture.
send any picture.
Oh gosh, I would probably post the picture that I shot of these twins way back that I shot in '79 when I just got back from Europe. And I had this European artistic thing going on, shooting cinematically. And it was out in Arizona in the desert. And these two girls were wearing this, and it was a sunset shot. And it was a shot that just said, beauty just is impeccable, and you can have a twin with it. That's what I would probably say. These twins, these twins. Yeah,
I know the feeling.
it's just tough. You know, it's like when I would say something, they'd both talk to me exactly the same way at the same time.
The stereo twins.
And it was the stereo thing,
Oh,
the
yeah.
stereo thing. And it was wonderful. And you know, I look at that shot today and those shoes are in style and that dress is back in style again. It's funny how that works.
So it'd be a shot of these twins
Yeah.
in the desert at sunset.
Yeah, I think it's on my in my.
We'll have to find that and post it. I think that sounds
Yeah, I
great.
think that's good.
And what would the caption say?
Oh gosh, can we wind it back so I can remember what it is? You know, I got this book on how to remember, but I laid it down. I can't.
You can't
remember what the heck it is.
On that note, I think we're going to end this
Beauty is
episode.
impeccable, and you can have twins with it. Was the
Yes.
caption.
Hey guys, Halstan, thank you. This has been delightful. We've had numerous conversations, but there's something very fun about this one. So
Oh yeah.
thanks for coming.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very good. Thank
All
you.
right, everybody. This interview is with Halstan Williams with halstan.com. Go look him up, check him out, look at his work, call him up. You will be very happy that you did. And if you're with CBSI, he'll take real good care
And
of
drink lots of vodka.
you. Yeah. Okay. Again, I'm Clay Banks. This has been the Performance Zone brought to you by Clay Banks Studio. And we also have a special on headshot coaching. So check out our coaching drop down, and why don't you sign yourself up and do yourself a favor. Take real good care of yourself. You only get that one shot to make a first impression. We'll see you on the next one.